Hello and welcome. So in this video, we're going to be delving into the inner workings of governance in Nigeria, how the APC government runs the Nigerian state, and we're going to be paying particular attention to one of the parastatals of state, namely the Nigerian police force. So we're going to be paying particular attention to the Nigerian police force in this video, and we are going to be asking the question, is the Nigerian police force now effectively the political thugs for the ruling party? So the question again, is the Nigerian police force now effectively just merely political thugs for the ruling parties? Now, why would anyone say this? Well, let's examine recent events. Over the course of the last few months, and indeed really going back to the start of this regime, actually let's go that far back. Okay, so the chap in charge of the police in Nigeria at the moment is a policeman called Idris. Now, this policeman called Idris, the one that did the transmission has been transmitted with the video that went viral, the transmission guy. This guy was promoted about 3 rungs above his position when the APC government came in order for him to be put in post, because he was of the north, from the north. He was a Muslim, of course, a northerner, as we said, and really ticked all the boxes for appointment into the Buhari regime. And more importantly, he was and he still is a Buhari acolyte. He's a supporter of Madam Buhari. He's a Buhari follower. He's almost effectively a Buhari son. So really, that's how he got into post. So he got into that post. Now, ever since this chap has been in that post, he has been one debacle after the other, one faux pas after another error, and then another faux pas. And a faux pas and an error is all very well and good. It's a bit comical, a bit silly, a bit amateurish, and it shows incompetency, but then that can still be managed. But now it has now getting to the stage that is raising real reasons, real cause for concern. So let's have a look at what's been going on and why we are posing that question. Is the Nigerian police now effectively political thugs for the government in power, for the APC government, for the Malam Buhari-led government? So now, anybody and everybody that comes out in opposition of the Buhari regime always gets a knock on the door from the police. So we start with Femi Fani-Kayode, who has spent pretty much from the first day of the Buhari regime till date battling with and fighting off attacks and incursions from the police and the courts. Okay, maybe he has a case to answer, maybe he doesn't have a case to answer. He's certainly being persecuted, that's definite. Dasuki, of course, we know, he was just picked up for plotting a coup against Buhari in the 80s. Effectively, that's his crime, and he's been locked up in jail. And for as long as Buhari remains the president of Nigeria, we all know that Dasuki will be in jail. There is no court in the land, and there is no court on the planet, and there is no authority that exists that would remove that Dasuki man from jail for as long as Buhari is in power. Never mind anything about the law. This is personal, this is vendetta, and this is using the instrument of state for punitive measures and to attack your opponents. So we have that as well. But now this continues, and this is a persistent, consistent, and relentless thing. So now we've had the instance of about a year or so ago, certainly thereabout, yes, maybe not quite a year, but approximately a year, we had a wave of people leaving the APC party because they were fed up really with the incompetency and the lack of direction and the rudderlessness of the whole structure. So now, in the cusp of that, suddenly these people started getting visits from the police. Suddenly the number 3 citizen of the country, Bukola Saraki, who I'm no great fan of, because Bukola Saraki, I'm going to do a separate video on that chap himself. He is a crook as well, but still, even if he's a crook, he's still protected by the rule of law. But and he is the number 3 citizen of the country as well. So Bukola Saraki, in the throes of that wave of defection from the APC, suddenly started getting encounters with the police. It got to the stage where they actually went and surrounded his house, accusing him of being involved with some political thugs who robbed a bank in Offa and killed a lot of people. Now, what involvement he has with these people and how tenuous that involvement is, what relationship there is, we don't really know yet the full details of it. But really, it is quite a stretch that just on the eve of political moves being made against Malam Buhari, suddenly there was an urgency to surround the house of the Senate president and take him into custody. I'm not quite sure what risk of escape or where he will be escaping to. What risk of escape does the Senate president present that would require a police cordoning off his premises and waiting at all 4 corners of his residence? He has police orderlies. This is one of the most visible people in the country. He can't even breathe without being seen. So I'm not quite sure why that had to happen, but then we do know why that had to happen, because of course there was defections, and the wave of defections was actually a threat to the continuity of the Malam Buhari regime, because there could well have been the numbers to impeach him, and that really was what the police was acting on. So we've had that. Governor Fayose, an ardent critic of Buhari, has been in police custody effectively. It's actually with the EFCC, but really it's all really within still the same spectrum, the EFCC and the police. Really, and what is this crime? They said, oh, there was some allegations of fraud or something of the order that dates back to 10-15 years ago, some cooked up, jumped up, incoherent story for whatever reason. But really, his crime was being a critic of the president. And as soon as he came out of office and he lost the immunity of being a governor, he was immediately picked up, and we've not heard from him since. Now, by the way, Babachir Lawal is still walking free, and his case is more current. His case doesn't date back 10-15 years. His allegations dates back about a year or so ago, and they've been investigating it for the last 2-3 years. Something that's happened within this regime, but something that happened 15 years ago that they were able to dust off the books and now find suddenly real evidence to detain Fayose. But then that's by the by. And then recently there was also visits from the police to Dr. Doyin Okupe, and this happened really when Dr. Doyin Okupe came out in support of Atiku, and he's just really come out of hibernation, and he's just started gentle campaigning. He's not even gotten into the full flow of it yet, and just really minor public pronouncements in support of his principle. And obviously in the political arena, you support your principle and you criticize the people that they are opposing to, or their opponents. And so obviously, and that's what's really guiding his comments. That's how his comments are guided. He supports Atiku and is obviously critical of Malam Buhari. What happened? Yes, you guessed it. He got a visit from the police, and the police were accusing him of what's the new term that they're using now? Hate speech for being critical of the government. So now you are not really allowed to be critical of the government in Nigeria anymore, because then you'd get a visit from the police. Now we've had this latest installment. Senator Dino Melaye, again, I'm no great fan of the guy. He's a bit comical. I like his singing online. He's quite a funny guy. He should really be with Bovey or something, or Mr. Faceman, or whoever the latest comedian is in Nigeria. He should be doing a double act, because he's one of the funniest people in Nigeria. Not a politician and not a serious person. A funny guy. But I'm not really. I don't really weigh either way as far as Dino is concerned, but really I defend to the last his right to liberty and free speech. But this guy obviously has been critical of Malam Buhari, very supportive of Bukola Saraki. Of course, he's moved over to the PDP, and that is the tone of his political rhetorics now, and that's just it. He's just chipping in his own quota into the get the Buhari out movement that is gaining speed. So that what's now happened in the throes of the election, because they know that Dino is quite a potent force, because he's able to use humor to poke ridicule at the clueless and as Donald Trump described him, a lifeless person, which is the president of Nigeria as is being perceived by in certain quarters. So Dino is able to do that. Dino is able to poke fun at this fella, and they don't really want that potency adding to the incompetency that is already highlighted and the backwardness. And so they just wanted to remove that Dino element from that election period, so that they cool him off in a cell somewhere and then release him after the elections are done. And what have they done? Some cooked up charges. I don't know if they're cooked up or not, because I can't really say they're cooked up, because I don't know the facts and figures, but some allegation that dates back to 4 years ago. So this allegation that dates back 4 years thereabout, that could not have been acted on in the 4 years period preceding and could not be acted on after the election, is being acted now on the very eve of the elections, and suddenly you had the police chasing them around as performed now, and as we know them for now, surrounding his house yet again, as they do with everyone else. This time they actually cut off the electricity to his house, cut off the water supply, forced him out. The guy ended up collapsing and all whatnot. Again, another opposition for voice to the regime being taken into custody. Now, there's no real saying if these people are deserving to be taken into custody or not, and there's no real saying, at least not on my part, if the crimes being alleged against these people are real or not. But what does jar and what does raise cause for concern is that every single person and virtually everybody that is being picked up by the Nigerian police is conveniently very vocal, and they are very vocal and ardent opposition voices to the Buhari regime. So how can it possibly be the case that all of the high-profile people that are being arrested for one crime or the other in the Nigerian state just happens to be the people that are in opposition to Buhari and his ways? Is that possible? No. So now this goes back to the question that we asked at the start of this video. Is the Nigerian police effectively the political thug arm of the APC party? Is the Nigerian police the political thug arm of the Malam Buhari-led APC party? Because all the indications will suggest that. So I'm putting the question out there. I've laid down my arguments to suggest. I want to know what your thoughts are. So you share that thoughts with me in the comment section. So I'll leave you here and I'll join you there, and I'll say peace.